Evening. Welcome to the York County Board of Zoning Appeals. So the first order on the agenda is the adoption of minutes. Are there any comments about the minutes from last month?
I make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, signify by raising your hand. Right hand. Any opposed? All right, so no old business, and we will move to new business. I'll explain how the process works. It's very simple. There's only one case tonight, so the way the process works is county staff comes, makes a presentation. After county staff is finished, then we will open a public hearing where the applicant comes and speaks first. After the applicant's done, anyone that wishes to speak for or against the application will be allowed to come forward. After that is complete, the applicant is allowed to return, and then the public hearing is closed. We request a motion, and then the board discusses and votes on the topic. All right, and with that, the first and only, Marcus Shea Clayton.
Thank you. We're here to look at case number Z2311 SE for special exception for campground. It's our owner applicant here, Mr. Clayton, located at 787 Woodland Park Road in the Agricultural Conservation District. Again, this is for campground. I have a picture of our vicinity map. This is a picture. Looks like in the winter or something. You can't, mostly deciduous trees around there on the lot. Zoning is pretty much surrounded by ag use. This is a site plan they gave us. This site here is actually just under 20 acres, located over a mile east of Smyrna. And you access it off of Highway 5 and go about 1.5 miles down the road. And the road terminates the site. Based on the assessor's property card, it was an active campground in the 90s, known as Woodlands Campground. Original structures have been there since the 70s. It appears to have ceased as a campground in the early 2000. The property card says it supported 45 campsites in the past. Contains a concrete swimming pool, 2 bathhouses, a 1-acre pond, and other outbuildings have been used in the past. And the applicant's house is located there to the left on this picture on site. This is a look towards the entrance, showing a bathhouse and a well. Another picture looking down towards the pool with a pump house and another well. This is what it looks like more in the summer when the trees are full. The applicant proposes to expand existing RV spaces, develop 15 additional sites for a total of 40. And if a special exception is approved, he needs to comply with York County development regulations, including, such things as parking, building codes, road circulation, DHEC, and on-site water and septic, et cetera, et cetera. We'll need to look at the special exception criteria. One is the adequacy of water and sewer facilities, and it's served by a well and septic system. The 20-acre site is expected to adequately serve the proposal. Next, we look at the impact of public services and public facilities, including education, recreation, transportation, wastewater, and sewer facilities for proposed use. We would expect the impact of public services and facilities to be minimal. It is on what's described as a well-maintained gravel roadway, about 1.5 miles long. Prior to getting to the campground, it serves about 20 large lots with a mix of agricultural, a few houses, some vacant properties. Preliminary site evaluation has been completed and looked at by transportation, and they determined that a TIA, a transportation impact analysis, is not necessary. The chip generation tables don't trigger any additional review. And we look at the compatibility with the proposed use with the surrounding uses. Again, I went over some of them, the ag uses, the single-family homes, agricultural uses, and undeveloped land. Of course, we got 20-acre lot. There's only one house located nearby, about 300 feet from the site. The rest are quite distant. That property owner did attend the meeting, neighborhood meeting. We would not expect the proposal to have a negative impact on the surrounding uses. And also, I didn't hear any more. I didn't get any more phone calls or emails or anything on the project. If you were, we would recommend approval with a special exception for the campground. We did come up with one condition of approval, and we want to make sure that the applicant submits a zoning compliant application within 30 days from approval of a special exception permit. That is a requirement of the permitting process.
Can you elaborate a little more on the 15 overnight stays?
Thank you, I was gonna ask that too.
The code?
Yes, sir.
The code does limit the amount of time that a campground is not supposed to be permanent residence for the RVs, if that's what you're.
So is that 15 consecutive days, or is that 15 total campers?
It'd be consecutive days.
Okay. All right, it wasn't, it just said
Yeah.
the 15 limitation, so I was kind of confused on. So 15 consecutive days.
Yeah, that's the way I would interpret that.
Does that mean they'd have to go to another site after the 15 days?
At least, they would have to move, yeah.
A lot like in Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
So this was a campground previously.
Correct.
How was it a campground previously, and now it's going to be a campground now, but they need a special exception? Was it because it ceased operations, or was it under a different section of code previously?
Yeah, well, it ceased operations, and I didn't find any records of how things were permitted way back in the day for this. And also, we're expanding on, what was existing. So this would clean up everything and make them compliant with today's regulations.
So the more or less, the infrastructure exists now for it to be a campground?
Yes, that's my
So a lot of
understanding.
the compliance that they would have to do already exists?
Well, that infrastructure is there. There'd be other requirements for site planning, environmental, to have a look at it. We'd make sure it complies with any other campground qualities and code that we have now for that.
So I was a little confused in there's a section, and I assume that this came from the applicant, but it may have been done by staff. There's a section here that says parking and circulation. It says campground will provide off-street parking and access and interior roads which may be constructed of gravel or pervious material. And then just a little later, there's a section that just says circulation. Previous one said parking and circulation. This one says circulation. And it says must be paved with cement, asphalt, or other durable material. And the next section just says parking, and it says parking spaces will be paved, probably marked and lighted. So which one is the case?
We'll go through that, and when you go through the site planning or with the permitting that goes on after this, and they'll evaluate that. I would imagine the gravel parking would be adequate, but they'll go ahead and review that, the different peoples that deal with that part of the code.
Yeah, the paving kind of stood out to me because it's at the end of a 1.5 mile gravel road, so it doesn't make much sense to pave it, but whatever the code says,
Is that
right?
something that we could, of course, if the applicant was to request this, is that something that we could put a condition on? Or does that fall in more of a sketch plan?
Well, so, after this process, the applicant will have to go through, site plan review. I guess sort of the overall term for it is zoning compliance. So that's the new term to, be aware of. But, so, staff will look at it for, all of the, I guess, development standards that are required for campgrounds. And if it's required, then we'll make sure that it's done. Same way that, you know, building is gonna have to look at it, and,
I think I'm kind of piggybacking off of Jeff here. It's at the end of a 1.5 mile long dirt road, so if you guys, if the zoning requirements require paving, that's something that if they were against that, I don't know if they are or not, but if they were, they would have to come back to us and ask for another variance to get out of that, right? So what I'm asking is if that's something, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me to put asphalt at the end of a 1.5 mile long dirt road, so if that's something the applicant wants, because that's something that we could go ahead and take care of tonight with a condition.
let me
I
think.
may be kicking a hornet's nest that doesn't need to be kicked. I don't know what the applicant prefers, but I'm just asking, is that something that we could go ahead and do a condition on?
I mean, I don't know that that's, I'm just, you know, spitballing here. If you're talking about a variance to something that is in the code, then that was not covered under this application.
Okay.
And to be honest, I don't know off the top of my head exactly what we're going to require when that happens. Gravel seems to make a lot of sense to me as well.
Thank you.
Any more questions for staff? All right, thank you. So I assume the applicant is present? So when you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Shay Clayton, 795 Woodland Park Road, Smyrna. It's kind of been a long process, but we've kind of coming through it. And I've told other people before, like my parents kind of grew up at Woodland Park Campground, my mother's side of the family. You know, they had a swimming pool, people grew up there. And it's my wife and I's, you know, task and dream to get this place back up and running where kids can come out, people can bring their families, you know, unplug from their computers and social media, you know, and just be kids and relax and enjoy the peace and quiet of the country. With the infrastructure that was already there, this place seemed like the ideal place for us to go, you know, as we were looking for property in Chester and Union to build a campground. You know, it was just kind of a dream of ours to do. And when we found this place, we just decided this was it. So it's been a long process, but, you know, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to get this in front of y'all where we can move forward with this progress, with this project. And like I said, if there's any questions y'all have about the campground itself or history-wise or whatever, I mean, I'll be more willing to answer any question that you have about the place.
The restaurant, how many restaurants are
You got 2 bathhouses that were built, I'm pretty sure were built around 1961, 62. I actually had York County, Mr. Cato came out and looked at them. He's already, yes, sir, they're working. And he looked at them and seemed to believe that there wouldn't be any issues with anything on them.
And with the expansion of additional campsites, will you have to add a bathhouse, or
No,
is
ma'am.
it too adequate?
The 2 are adequate.
Okay.
Even with the swimming pool, we went so far as to have DHEC out looking at it, and we're gonna do some upgrades to get it up to today's code versus before. But we had to step how many feet the bathrooms were from the pool, and luckily it hit that. So, I mean, the footprint's there, you know, and everything as far as that goes is in line.
It just seems like it's been out of business for, what, since 2000. Seems like it would be run down.
Well, you know, and there had been some work done, we had done some work on the roofs, because all these bathhouses and stuff are block. The actual bathhouse number one still had power on it when we purchased the property. So, other than doing some roof work, you know, there really hadn't been a whole lot of work. I mean, they look nice, for a bathhouse, you know, everything functions, and, we upgraded the wells because we've dealt with DHEC, had them out and inspecting everything. We got 2 commercial wells on the property. Wastewater, all that was there. I worked for 30 years for the city of York wastewater business. So, I mean, I got a B biological wastewater license. So
Okay.
all that's intact.
Okay, and based on your site plan, there's a large area behind your residence that you have future expansion. Is there a plan long-term? I mean, are you gonna wanna expand this, or is that,
I'll be honest with you, I put that on there
Okay.
in case it ever was to come about, that I already had it labeled as future, and to where it would be in our plans, to where if we needed that property, it's there and it's in the plans.
okay.
I have a few questions in our packet on page 15
Yes, sir?
that I outlined, that if you could just kind of walk me through, because I'm just trying to visualize everything based on the info you gave us. Okay, so on staff accommodations, of course, your property that you live in is on that property, 2 acres of that. And you're saying no additional residents on site, but and no additional staff for the campground other than the property owner. So will it be open 365, 24?
Yes, sir, unless it freezes.
And you're gonna be the only person?
Well, like I said, I've been in the wastewater business for 29 years. I should have retired last year, and my wife's getting ready. You know, between her and myself, I think we can, we got 2 children.
Okay,
You know, we plan on putting them to work as well. But yeah, you know, if it got to the point to where, you know, we were just really busy and had something where, say, you know, because people go on vacations, you would hire somebody to come in and
okay.
take care of the campground that week when you were gone.
okay.
Yes, sir.
And then also, under development standards for camp density, in your response, the very last sentence, it says the 40 spaces would be spread across the 21 acres, right?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then, I'm just trying to,
Yes, sir.
formulate what it's gonna look like. And then under recreational facilities, the layout uses 17% of the 21 acres for the proposed campgrounds, which the campgrounds are where, if I have a RV, that's what I would rent from you and I'm gonna come park.
Yes, sir.
correct? Okay, which that's a little bit over 3 acres, about 3.5, give or take. 2 acres for you, which you're gonna live on, and then the other 15.25, that's gonna be just open space.
Yes, sir. We have a swimming pool. We're looking at finishing up a volleyball court. We have a basketball court. We have horseshoe pegs. We're working on doing like a putt-putt course. I mean, it's, you know, we have an additional 20 acres behind this property. And so, you know, we've been focused on making it to where it's not like this, you know,
Okay.
jam-packed with campers, where you open your front door, you try and run your own and out, and it hits a camper.
Okay.
You know, we don't want that.
Because for me, it was just clearing up, you got the entire 21, and when it says it's gonna be, the 40 would be spread across, I'm thinking they can start here and end all the way down here, and
Yeah.
hit all 4 corners of the property.
Yeah, no,
Or would it be 3 concentrated?
you're gonna have more of like areas for your campers, because, say like down where the creek is on the backside of the property, that's a floodplain.
Okay,
But it's somewhere that somebody can go and enjoy the creek, enjoy the shade, kids can play, hiking trails. But as far as the campers, it's more up on the hilltop,
okay,
you know, and a lot of it too is you gotta get your RV in and out.
right,
And you don't wanna pull it down a hill
right.
and try and
Okay.
pull it back out.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
So from your property, can you see, I assume it's Mr. Griffin listed here as the only property owner you can see, Can you see his home from,
When the
The
leaves
proposed-
is off, I could go to the front of my property and see theirs. You know, but like I said, when the leaves is on, they're tucked up in there. You can't really see them.
And what about quiet hours? Are you gonna have any enforcement on
Yes,
certain
ma'am.
times? Like, you know, when the music has to be down and people have to kinda keep it?
I think Ebenezer shoots for 11 o'clock. I think we would like to shoot for 10.
Okay,
And, you know, we've discussed it. It's gonna make us look like bad people to locals for a while, till they figure out our rules. But then once they learn our rules and learn that we like a quiet campground, then I think everything will be fine.
so this is primarily like an individual site? So it's not like group camping, like Boy Scout groups?
I wouldn't be opposed to that. If they wanted to come, you know, say the Boy Scouts wanted to come and sit up down by the basketball court where we have water and close to the bathhouse and wanted to spend a weekend, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But right now, we're not really worried about, I'm not looking to get into the tent camping
I
business.
was gonna, okay, that was my follow-up question.
Just, to me, you may get into some trouble that way. You know, as far as, we had a friend of ours who ran a campground in Marion, North Carolina, and he advised us, you know, to stay away from tent campers. So, you know,
I only tent camp.
well, if I, you know,
Well, when you say tent camp, do you mean only tent camps, or can there be any people camping in tents out there?
that's something we're gonna look into and try and see if we can figure out the tent camping.
Well, you was talking about Ebenezer Park. I mean, they got some tents, but it's mostly RVs and whatnot.
Right.
But they do have some tents.
Right, and, you know, when we camped a lot and we had our camper, you know, sometimes if you go around that backside where the tents were, it'd get a little sketchy at night, for lack of better words.
Gotta watch those tent cameras.
You know, I'm not trying to throw any
You're not
rocks at
welcome,
anybody,
Oh, my
but,
goodness.
you know, you got to think about it too, like York County is a county-owned campground. We're gonna be privately owned, so I got children out there as well, you know, and I wanna feel like my children and everybody else that comes out there is safe. You know, I don't wanna have to lay in bed at night and tell my gosh, what's going on? That's not gonna happen. So, that's my reason with the tent camping now. I can't say much about it now.
So all these, you know, RV sites have electric hookup, water
Yes, ma'am.
hookup?
Full hookup.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
And then you have a dumping station? Is
We
that
do
al-
have a dumping
Is that
station as
already
well.
there, or do you have to add that on?
No, it's already there.
Okay, and
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sure DHEC will, or you'll
Oh, yes,
follow
ma'am.
up with the county and all that.
But you don't have them for each individual space? Oh, you
Yes,
do
sir.
have it for each-
Yes, sir. Places run off 2 different septic systems with a dumping station as well.
All right, any more questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So is there anyone present that wishes to speak either for or against the application? No. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. And the floor is open for a motion.
Okay, I have a question to staff real quick. So, I don't believe I saw the condition in our packet. Was that added on afterwards? And it was, the condition was that zoning compliant application within 30 days? Was that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Once it's approved and we get decisions and findings out.
Okay. Well, I make a motion.
we-
Oh, go ahead.
Should we ask the applicant if they're good with it?
If they're what?
If they're okay with 30 days? Is that good with y'all?
I have no idea what that is, so if it needs to be something done in 30 days, we can do it.
Can someone explain to the applicant what exactly that condition is, and to us as well?
Sure, yeah. So we've talked a little bit about this before, as this project has been moving on. So it essentially is civil site plan review is what it is. So what happens is you'll take this plan, and it will be submitted for a formal review not just by zoning, but by like our roads people, our utility people, our stormwater, those, everyone within our department that looks at things. And then they'll let you know if you need to do anything. Like, let's say, for example, one thing that's required on site plans are buffers. Well, you're in the middle of a wooded area, so you're probably good there. That sort of stuff. And the things that we'll be looking for, specifically zoning, are all the things that you outlined in red. It's just sort of the standard process. And 30 days will be from when we send out, like, the actual letter. It's not from today. It'll be from when we send out the letter.
So the 30 days come along and say, if you sent me a letter and everybody was looking at our project, and they said, okay, y'all need to do this, then we would only have 30 days to get that done, or this would be?
No, you would just have to submit for the site plan review within 30 days of receiving your approval letter.
Okay. Thank you. So I will move to approve the special exception to allow the operation of the campground with the condition that they submit the site plan review within the 30-day period as staff requires.
No second.
I just think it meets all the criteria that staff has put in place. I think it's very compatible with the surrounding area. A lot of the, structures and everything is in place. I think it's just a great use of this area. I think it's a need, in today's world, and I think it's just a great way to use the property, and I just think it's a perfect fit. So I have no problem with it, and I approve.
I agree. I think we should approve the campground to be a campground.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to add the condition that they allow tent campers.
Oh, you can talk to him afterwards, Jeff.
Any further discussion? All right, we have a motion to approve with the stated condition. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And with that, no reason for executive session, so
I
make
move to adjourn.
All right, do I have a second? All those in favor? We are adjourned.